Hello all. Welcome to Pustakvani, your one-stop solution for book summary. Today we are here with the book named The Cherry Orchard by Anton Chekhov. So, let's start its plot summary. The play begins in the pre-dawn hours of a May morning in Russia. We learn that the cherry trees are in bloom even though it is frosty outside. Yermolay Lopukhin, a friend of the family, and Dunyasha, a maid on the Ranovsky estate, wait for the estate's owner Ranovsky at the estate's main house, in a room called the nursery. Lopukhin reveals that Ranovsky has been in Paris for the last 5 years. Lopukhin is a local businessman in his mid-30s, dressed in a fine white suit, with gaudy yellow shoes, whose feelings towards Ranovsky are mixed between affectionate gratitude for past kindnesses and resentment at her condescension toward him because of his humble, peasant origins. Also on the estate is Simon Yefekhatov, a hapless youth nicknamed Simple Simon because of his frequent and ridiculous accidents. Soon, Ranovsky arrives from Paris along with her daughter Anya, who has been with her there since Easter of that year, Yasha, a young manservant who has accompanied her on her travels, and Charlotte, Anya's governess, who brings along her dog. Also accompanying her are Furs, her 87-year-old manservant, her elder, yet still infantile, brother Leonid Gayev, and her adopted daughter Varya. These last three have stayed in Russia but went at the station to greet Ranovsky on her return. Ranovsky expresses her joy and amazement to be home again, while Anya reveals to Varya the relative poverty in which she found her mother when she arrived in Paris and the way in which she continues to spend money. Varya reveals that the family's estate is to be sold at auction on the 22nd of August in order to pay their debts. Anya reveals that Ranovsky's departure for Paris was caused by her grief over 2 deaths, that of her husband 6 years before and that of her son, Grisha, who drowned a month thereafter. Soon, Anya departs for bed and Lopukhin brings up the issue of the imminent sale. He proposes a solution. Ranovsky should parcel out the land on her estate, build cottages on the parcels, and lease them out to summer cottage holders, who are becoming increasingly numerous. Gayev and Ranovsky dismiss THR idea because it would necessitate cutting down the family's beloved and gigantic cherry orchard. Before he leaves, Lopukhin offers them a loan of 50,000 rubles to buy their property at auction if they change their minds, and predicts there will be no other way of saving the orchard. Ranovsky then lends some money to a fellow impoverished landowner, Boris Simonov-Pischik. Peter Trofimov arrives. He was Grisha's tutor before the drowning, and thus he brings back painful memories for Ranovsky. Before the end of the act, after complaining about Ranovsky's inability to curb her spending, Gayev outlines 3 alternatives to Lopukhin's plan, a financing scheme involving some banker friends of his, Ranovsky borrowing some money from Lopukhin, without the condition that they then cut down the orchard, and a wealthy aunt in Yaroslavl who might provide a loan. In the second act, we are introduced more closely to the young servants on the estate, Dunyasha, Yasha, and Yefekhatov, who are involved in a love triangle. Yefekhatov loves Dunyasha, Dunyasha loves Yasha, and Yasha is very much in love with himself. Soon, Lopukhin, Ranovsky, Gayev, Anya, and Varya appear, and they are again debating over Lopukhin's plan to turn the orchard into cottage country. Lopukhin becomes frustrated with Ranovsky's reluctance. She, in turn, thinks his plan is vulgar, and says that if they plan to sell the cherry orchard, she wants to be sold along with it. Ranovsky reveals that she has a lover in Paris who has been sending her telegrams, asking her to return, and who robbed her, left her, and as a result drove her to a suicide attempt. Soon, Trofimov appears and gives several speeches about the importance of work and the laziness and stupidity of Russian intellectuals. In a quiet moment, the sound of a snapping string is heard, and no one can identify its source. A drunkard appears, asking for directions and then money. Ranovsky ends up giving him several gold pieces. Disturbed, most of the group leave, except for Anya and Trofimov. They discuss Varya's growing suspicion that Anya and Trofimov are having an affair, which they are not. Trofimov declares that they are above love. The act ends with Yefekhatov sadly playing his guitar and Varya calling out, in vain, for Anya. In the third act, Ranovsky throws a party on the day of the auction. The guests consist of several local bureaucratic officials, such as the station master and a post office clerk. Charlotte entertains the guests with a series of magic tricks. Ranovsky worries anxiously about why Gaev and Lopakin have not yet returned. Ranovsky fears that the orchard has been lost, that the aunt in Yaroslavl has apparently not given them enough money to buy it, and that Gaev's other sources have failed to come through. She and Trofimov get into an argument. Trofimov accuses her of not being able to face the truth, and she accuses him of being unusual for never having fallen in love. Lopakin and Gaev soon return from the auction. Lopakin reveals to everyone that he has bought the estate and intends to carry out his plans for the orchard's destruction. Anya tries, in vain, to comfort her mother. In the last act, it is October, and the trees in the cherry orchard are already being cut down. All the characters are in the process of leaving. Lopakin will depart to Kharkov for the winter, Varya to the Ragulins, another family that lives 50 miles away. Gaev plans to live in the town, working at a bank. Anya will go off to school, and Ranovsky will leave for Paris with Yasha to rejoin her lover. Charlotte has no idea what she will do, but Lopakin assures her he will help her find something. Trofimov and Lopakin exchange an affectionate, if contentious farewell. Yasha leaves Dunyasha, weeping, without a second thought, and Anya tearfully says goodbye to her mother. Anya worries that Furs, who is taken ill, has not been sent to the hospital as he was supposed to be, but Yasha indignantly assures Anya that he has. Ranovsky encourages Lopakin to propose to Varya, but the proposal is never made. Lopakin leaves Varya alone and in tears. Finally, Gaev and Ranovsky bid a tearful farewell to their house. Everyone leaves, locking the doors behind them. But Furs is, in fact, accidentally left behind, having fallen ill and being forgotten in the rush of the departure. He walks on stage after everyone else has left, quietly muttering about how life has left him by. He lies on the couch and silently expires as two sounds are heard. Again, the sound of a string snapping and the sound of an axe cutting down a cherry tree in the orchard.